Morning, everybody. I was out to feed the animals this morning, walking around the place, and got out here in the pecan orchard with the dogs for a few minutes. And I remembered something happened when I was a kid. My grandpa had a farm over right on the river, and we got up one morning, and Grandpa said, "Come on, boy, get in the truck with me. I got something special we got to do this weekend." Well, we rode out to the very back of the place, and he had a spot down there along the fence row, and he walked up to about a 7-foot little old pecan tree and said, I got special plans for this one. He said, I'm gonna move it. Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, he said, go fetch me a shovel out of the truck. Well, I went and got the shovel out for him and sat back watching. And when Grandpa worked, you just got out of his way. I mean, he had been a working man his whole life, and he didn't slack up when he worked. So the best thing I could do as a kid just get out of his way so I didn't get dirt slung on me. But he got up there digging around that tree and digging, and I mean, he had done dug a hole down where it was just head and shoulders sticking out of the ground as he was trying to get down in here. And I eased up there looking, and I mean, he had dug out around this tree and saved all the roots were just hanging there. He had dug out careful around everything, and he was way down in the ground chasing that taproot of that tree. And he finally told me, he said, go grab me that axe out of the truck. Well, I brought it over there, and he eased that tree over and got that axe and cut that taproot down about 5 foot down in the ground and eased that tree up and set it at the back of the truck. And he said, all right, let's load up. Let's get back going again here. And we went back up to the truck, to the house, and ate some lunch and talked a little bit. And he said, I've been wanting to have me a pet tree I can have close to me and work with. Well, he got up there and went to outside the fence of the yard there, just out in the pasture, and he went to digging a hole as big as the one he dug digging that tree up, maybe a little bit bigger. And he got in there and mixed a whole bunch of other stuff in there and went and put some fresh fertilizer, and kind of have an abundance of that on the farm. But he worked some stuff into the soil there and got that tree planted. And he said, I'm gonna see what I can do with this tree. I'm gonna see what this tree can become if I do it right. Well, he got up there, and every spring he would run nets in the cutoff lake when the river flooded, and he would catch enough fish with nets and trot lines to put back to eat off of all year long during the spring. Well, he got after that where every time he'd get done cleaning all the fish and putting them up in the freezer, he would take all the scraps and he'd go around that tree and he'd dig a trench about right at the drip line around that tree. And of course, every year as the tree grew, that drip line got bigger and bigger, and he would fill all the byproducts, all the leftovers when he cleaned them fish around that tree. And that tree just shot up. I mean, it just was unreal how fast that tree grew. It was giving everything it needed. Well, I was down at the farm a little while back, walking around in Grandma's old yard out there, and I really got to looking at that old pecan tree. And that tree's about probably 40, 50 years old now. Well, it's at least 40. And I can't reach my arms around that tree. That tree's as big around as some trees I've seen that are 70, 80 years old. And it's just probably 50 foot tall and just drops pecans. Even though the old yard and house place is all grown up, it still just drops a ton of pecans in that yard every year. And it was because of that special love that Grandpa gave it. And but in order for him to get it where he could work on it, he had to uproot that tree. He had to get that tree from where it was at. It was way at the back of the place where he couldn't do nothing. And he dug that tree up and moved it to a different spot. And he had to dig all around that tree. He had to cut it. I mean, it lost some of its roots in doing it. But he moved that tree to where he needed it to do what he needed to it. And what I felt this morning is as we're starting this new year, there's people out there that are hurting. There's people that don't understand why the things that are happening to them are happening. And I can't tell you why that's happening, but I can tell you sometimes God has to uproot you from what you've got. He has to go through something that pulls you from where you're at to a new spot that's better, where he can work in your life, or he can bless you in your life in order for him to be able to do the work right. We set root in the wrong places sometimes. Sometimes we get locked in with people that we shouldn't. Sometimes we get in places that we shouldn't. We get in ruts in life that we shouldn't. But it all boils down to the simple fact that God has always got a plan in your life, and He knows what's best for you. And sometimes the trials of this world hurt, and I mean, they hurt a lot. But those trials are teaching us to become closer to Him. It's pulling us to Him. He moves us to a place, not just physically, but spiritually. And it's up to us to be able to listen to God and understand and keep faith in what He's got. It's a process. This is why we call it our daily walk. He's working in you. He's getting you to a spot of brokenness and humbleness that you can reach to Him. So this morning, as we start this new year, just remember, no matter what's going on, no matter how far you've gone or what life's brought to you, God's working in your life. God has blessings waiting on you. God has things in store for you, and you just have to accept the process and accept that sometimes life's going to hurt. Sometimes there's going to be trials out there that do us, that we feel that we're physically offended because it's so hard sometimes. But if you'll keep your faith, you will endure. I just want to share that with you this morning. My grandpa always had a knack for growing things, and our Lord does too. He knows just what you need. He just knows just when to give it to you. It might not seem like it at the time, but hold faith, my friend. He's got special things in store for you. And another little footnote, a couple of years after Grandpa moved that old little tree up there to the yard and it got established, then he grafted it. And then he made it into this beautiful paper shell that put pecans out 3 or 4 times bigger than what it would ever produce before. So you have to accept the process. We have to surrender our faith to Him and let Him have the reins of our lives. And we do it by keeping our eyes on Jesus and what He did for us at Calvary, because that's our secret to redemption, my friends. But hold strong. Keep the faith. I love you, and God bless.